1 2 1 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Motive Racing YouTube channel. We are back here on a Sunday night for the GT3 Championship after a couple of weeks away due to the 1.9 patch on the PlayStation 5. Not quite being up to scratch, but they seem to have sorted it out for the most part here, and we're back out on track tonight for the resumption of this season with a slight shake-up. You could say, unfortunately, you could say maybe for the best. We were running a two-tier format. We've been doing that now for the last 2.5 seasons here at Motive. However, the last couple of weeks we've been just scraping together sort of 15 drivers for both tiers, and last time out we only had 12 drivers turn up for the second tier. So we've made the decision to merge both tiers together here, so obviously you can have 29 drivers on track with a spectator in all of the servers or in any server on the PlayStation 5. So we thought better have a full grid of near enough 29 cars. We've got 27 this week. I think a couple of guys had to drop out at the last minute, but yeah, I mean, I'm much closer to a full grid. 27 cars. We're not going to be strapped for action in any way, shape or form. It's going to be non-stop here from start to finish, and that's what we want here. So we should be in for a great treat here tonight at the Hungaroring. We've got Jazzman starting on pole here. He's actually restarting his points tally for this season because he's changed car, which you're actually not allowed to do. The penalty for changing car is that you reset all of the points that you've accumulated over the course of the season. So obviously Jazzman was on 58 points before tonight. Now he is reset to 0 points, and obviously his big rival Tinus in the house sits on 120 points. So the amount of points that Jazzman would have to overhaul to beat Tinus to this season's championship, I think, is insurmountable personally. I would say Tinus is pretty much nailed on for his second title in a row here on a Sunday for the GT3 Championship. You've got G-Sanks lining up in third behind these two. What can he do from the second row with CJ Carlo putting in an absolutely fantastic performance there in qualifying. He seemed pretty quick over the course of tonight as well, starting fourth alongside G-Sanks. We've got Ludo, who will be lining up in P5 with Carl Marley alongside him on the third row. Then you've got Robe, who will start this one in seventh. Not the best of qualifyings for him. We've seen him further up over the course of the last couple of seasons. We got High Grade alongside him in 8th place ahead of Epiphany, who line up 9th ahead of Totally Zero, who line up alongside him on the 5th row. Got Kev Sim down in 11th place. Surprising to see him that so low down. And we've had a short formation lap here. Hopefully the guys knew, because I certainly didn't. But we're off and away, and Remster's not rated up, so he's going to have to start from the pits. So that's gone already a bit pear-shaped there for him. Into turn one we go for the first time. It's Jazzman who's holding on the inside there from Tinus. Tinus getting a great run though coming out of turn one. They're side by side here, and can the Honda stick a nose up the inside of the Ferrari here coming into turn two? Here we go. Tinus having a look. Jazzman goes late on the brakes, keeps it around the outside. Tinus there still alongside him ever so slightly. Jazzman very wide there out of turn two. Into three we go. Can Tinus get a run here coming up the hill? Jazzman for the time being holds on to the lead, as we can see a bit of scrapping going on in the background. It looks like Carl Marley might be attacking on the back of Ludo there as they come up towards turn four, but it's Jazzman from Tinus, from G-Sanks in third ahead of TJ Carlo. Robe's trying to defend from Ludo and Carl Marley at the same time, and somebody's lost it there in the background. Somebody spun. Who is that? I'm just trying to get some eyes on who that might have been there. Losing it coming out of turn four into turn five. Kev Sim's got it horribly wrong there onto the grass. That's got a nightmare there for him. Was it Raki that lost it? It was Raki. So Raki, a late stand in reserve for tonight, has had an absolute horror show here on this opening lap. Losing it coming out of turn four. Got too heavy onto the curb on the outside. Binned it into the opposite wall. Has he got damage? We'll have to wait and see over the course of the rest of this first lap. But we've got Carl Marley all over the back of Ludo here on this first lap. The rest of them seem pretty spread out at the moment, but looks like we've all got through the first lap relatively cleanly here. Scooter Paul with a bit of damage there on the front of the car. That's not going to be ideal for him at all in these early stages. Tunde also with damage and cuts the chicane there as well. So he seems to have had a bit of a nightmare. Day as well has got a massively battered up car there. So that's been in the wars so far. Tunde, Scooter Paul, Day, Lowell 3000, has he been involved? I think he might have got away with it in terms of damage, but clearly has lost a lot of time here on the first lap of this race. Remster obviously started from the pits and has now been able to capitalise on all of the carnage going on in front of him. He's gained a couple of places there up into P25 from P27, but it's Jazzman from Tynus from G-Sanks, TJ Carlo there in fourth, ahead of Robe. Ludo looking to the inside of Robe, into turn one, a late dive up the inside there from Ludo, and he can't make it stick because Robe holds it around the outside and Robe gets a better exit coming down towards turn two. Now Ludo might be vulnerable though, because Carl Marley's going to look up the inside here into turn two. They're side by side. Carl Marley makes the move and makes it stick there up into P6. So Ludo went for a position, tried to move himself up to P5, ended up dropping down to P7 there. Went for a place, ended up losing one. Not gone too well there for him, unfortunately, but a long way to go here in this race, obviously, for round 3 of tonight's GT3 Championship Season 5 here on the PlayStation 5 at Motive. It's Jazzman who leads the way ahead of Tynus as they're coming down towards the chicane for the second time here at Racing Speeds. G-Sanks there ahead of TJ Carlo, and these guys gapping Robe and Carl Marley a little bit. It's a train of cars here. Robe's currently got a load of people queuing up behind him at the moment. There's Andrew ahead of Caprigia. Always Kevsim here looking to the inside of Caprigia. He's going to make the move there in the corner after the chicane. So Kevsim there into P12. Gets that one done beautifully there. Did he cut the chicane though? Potentially. Could have been a bit of track limits. I'm not quite sure at this point. As Chris there loses out to Glenn. These two GT UK boys side by side. And Glenn holding it around the outside beautifully there. Great driving there from Glenn. And Chris in the end has to settle for that one. But in fact Mario's got around Chris as well. So Chris there losing 2 places and is down to P20. So not the great situation there for him. I've got a few drivers in the pits here. The end of lap 1, I think Guido, Chris, Tunde and Dale coming in at the same time. Obviously damage repairs for those guys, seeing as they've all been in a little bit of trouble here in the start of this race. Robe's still got a train of cars behind him right now. Carl Marley, Ludo, Epiphany, Totally Zero, High Grade, all queuing up behind our man from South Africa as he defends to the inside here from Carl Marley. Carl Marley looking around the outside into turn 1, but still can't make anything happen at the moment. And the opportunity's just not falling for him at this stage, and Robe is resolutely keeping it onto his position and not really giving him anything to go on at the moment, not making any mistakes, just making sure that he's got that car absolutely planted in the way of any potential threats here. But Carl Marley had a Ludo with Epiphany, who's looking on the back of him at the moment, but just can't seem to find a way through either. And there's the rest of the mid-pack there coming through a shot, coming through turn 3 at the moment. And yeah, bit of carnage there on the first lap. Obviously we saw with Guido, Chris, Tunde and Day all coming into the pits on the first lap. Scooter Paul also with damage, but seems to be sticking with it for the time being. That's brave, I'll tell you that, because that is a battered up Audi there for Scooter Paul. We got a drive-through penalty being handed out for Day. I think that might have been for speeding in the pit lanes. It would have been a minor pit lane speeding infringement, because you actually get a stop-go penalty usually for pit lane speeding, but obviously this one must have not been a very severe one. But he's had to obviously incur a penalty there, so that he'll be having to come into the pits within the next 3 laps, otherwise he'll get an even bigger penalty, and that's going to be a major frustration there for him, I'm sure about that, as we've got a move potentially being shaped up here in the background. Kevsim's looking to the inside of Andrew there, going into that right-hander, but couldn't make anything happen just there then. In the meantime, Jazzman's opened up a gap of nearly 2 seconds here over Tynus in the house. So showing right now Jazzman has got the pace over the others, but is he running a half tank strategy, or is he doing a full tank? If he's running a full tank, then the others are in trouble. If he's running a half tank, then Tynus could take solace from that, and he could come back at him once the strategy starts to come into play. G-Sank's currently keeping Tynus on his toes. Top 3 gapping TJ Carlo considerably. Robe's still defending here from Carl Marley into turn 1. Carl Marley looking around the outside, still can't do anything here, and the longer that Carl Marley gets held up here from Robe, that's going to make him more vulnerable to Ludo, as Robe now defending the inside here coming down towards turn 2. Here we go, what's going to happen? Carl Marley looking around the outside, can he make anything happen here? Doesn't look like he's going to be able to at the moment, and Robe still holding on for that position as Carl Marley gets a little bit loose there going out of turn 2. Bit of a twitch there from him, not twitch but a bit of a slide as he was trying to get the car turned in, but still on the back of Robe and still keeping Ludo at bay for the time being. High Grade and Andrew dropping off of that train a little bit there. You can see those two running in 10th and 11th places here. Fierce Mars has got ahead of Ericode up into P12 as well. That's a position, that's a move for position there. You've got Caprigia still just ahead of Mary Louise at the moment, with Snoopy tracking these guys as well, hot on their heels at the moment as they're coming out of turn 5 down towards the chicane, 6 and 7 chicane. There's Kevstim in the background, not too far away from those guys as well. You've got the lap car there just behind them, which I believe is Guido Chris there on the back of them. So he's not had the race so far as Guido Chris at all. There is Jazzman though with nearly a 3-second lead already over these two. Tynus and G-Sank seem pretty evenly matched at the moment, so I'm wondering maybe if those two have potentially gone for the full tank. Maybe Jazzman's gone for the half tank. I'm speculating at the moment. This is me being hopeful and hoping and praying that the race isn't going to be a one-sided affair in the favour of Jazzman, because I want to be seeing a fight for the win. Obviously the championship now looking like it's beyond Jazzman, because of those of you who are just tuning in, he did actually change his car, which means he resets his entire points tally for this season. That leaves him on 0 points, with Tynus on 120, having taken maximum points from the first 2 rounds this season. That leaves Jazzman with an almost unassailable task here this season, but he's currently leading the race and he's currently enjoying himself out the front here. Tynus currently running in 2nd place and still weathering the storm from G-Sanks for the time being, as Robe's still defending here from Carl Marley for everything he's got. He's been doing a fantastic job here of keeping Carl Marley at bay, and Carl Marley still can't find a way through. It's been an exemplary showing of parking your car in the right place here from Robe in the opening few laps of this race. We've got plenty of comments coming in here on YouTube as well. The action's been so non-stop here, it's been hard to get to you guys, but we've got Jamie Carter there saying good luck everyone. James Adams says hello. Oh, with Robo very wide there coming out of turn 4, but he's going to hold it on the inside here for 5, as Carl Marley looking around the outside. He's searching for the grip, isn't he? And look at that, he's going to look now to the inside into the chicane, but he's just too far back at the moment, and still Robe is clinging onto this one by the skin of his teeth. JR there in the comments says good luck Raki and Jazz. Chris saying good luck Glenn, Scud, Raki, Zilla. Just be interesting all of us together, definitely so. Chris obviously out on track as well. He's currently running in, where is he now? He's dropped down to 24th place because he's had to come into the pits, so I'm not quite sure what that was for at this point, but clearly some kind of damage on the car, you would think, as Robe's still keeping this train of cars behind him, and Rudo had to take away some action there to avoid running into the back of Carl Marley, and that's going to make him vulnerable, and Totally Zero is going to move through there up into 7th place. He says thank you very much Ludo, I will capitalise on your little mistake there and I will gain a position, and Epiphany now trying to attack on him as well, but Ludo holds position for the time being and is now in P8 here in this race, so Ludo losing out to Totally Zero just there then in that little exchange. Robe still keeping Carl Marley behind him though. How is he doing this? Zillabang says good luck Chris Mucker and Glenn. Raki saying good evening all. Raki also out on track as well, currently running in P18. Shout out as Ludo here looking to the inside of the Totally Zero. It's turn 1. Oh, and Epiphany there had to take evasive action to avoid running into Ludo, who braked a little bit early there I think for Epiphany's liking. Epiphany there's lost out to high grade, and Andrew's going to move through as well, so Andrew gets himself into a top 10 spot, and Epiphany there down to 11th place, which is frustrating there for him. Good luck everyone, says Joseph Adams. Hey Raki, he says. JR saying big grid baby, big grids need love too Andy. Of course they do, of course big grids need love. In fact big grids deserve more love than small grids, because they're more exciting and they keep me interested and entertained. And yeah, long may this last, because now obviously we've only got 1 tier for this GT3 championship. The last couple of weeks we've been struggling to get 15 drivers for each tier, so I'm thinking, well, we might as well just condense it all into one, and have near enough 30 drivers out on track every week, because that's what we want. We want to see entertaining racing, we want to see full grids, and the plan is to have some kind of qualification system. If there's regular drivers that can't make it, or people in the top 30 who aren't around, then we can have some kind of little qualifier event before the races. I'll set something up, I'll figure something out, and that'll be how reserves can get themselves into the races, so there'll be a little bit more excitement, a little bit more build up to the races. What has gone on there? Carl Marley's lost it, he's binned it there, he's facing the wrong way. Totally Zero and Ludo move through, so does High Grade. Where's Andrew? Andrew's coming up on the scene and he moves through as well, and so does Epiphany. So Epiphany they're gaining position as he's now attacking on the back of Andrew as well, but such a shame there for Carl Marley. Where has he come out in all of this? He's still not got it going again. He's now getting back onto the track again, as Error Code's made his way through. So is Fierce Mars. What about Capriggia? Caprigia's ahead of him. So is Mary Louise. So is Kevsim. And Snoopy as well. So Carl Marley has dropped down to I think 17th place here in this race. He has lost an absolute heap of positions there. Has lost about 10 places with that spin. And he's going to be kicking himself after that one. Absolutely kicking himself. I'm scared, says Chris. Smash the like, says JR. Definitely do, guys. If you're enjoying what you're watching, please do hit the like, and also subscribe to the Motive Racing channel. If you want to get involved in the action on here at Motive, then be sure to go to www.motiveracing.com. As you can see, we're full up for Sundays near enough, although having said that, if you want to be a reserve, as I said before, we're going to have a little meritocracy sort of system for reserves. So if there's spaces, then we'll do a qualifier event beforehand, get people to post a lap or whatever, and and go from there. But yeah, we've got spaces for our Wednesday league, our sprint league that we run on a Wednesday. We usually hit in between 50 and 20 drivers on the grid for those nights, so we've got plenty of spaces in that one. So if you guys fancy getting involved in the Wednesday sprint league, obviously GT3s just like tonight, but with two 30-minute races with no pit stops, unlike the races tonight, which is an endurance. Well, I say endurance. 60 minutes nowadays on ACC isn't really an endurance, but obviously 60 minutes with a pit stop. It requires a little bit more strategy and a little bit more out-of-the-box thinking than perhaps driving for a 30-minute flat-out race would. So there's a bit more jeopardy, there's a bit more interest in what's going to go on. But yeah, we got Raki there saying, hey Joseph, good luck. Glenn, Joseph saying, good luck boys. Go Raki, says JL. If they pit early and don't get caught with blue flags, the damage can make up some time. Hit like, support the drivers out on track, he says. And I had to pit with damage, says Chris, which is a massive shame there for him, because he was running in not too bad a position in the early stages there. He was running about P12, I think, in the early stages, was battling with Glenn, who also seems to have dropped down the order. I can't see where he's. Oh, he's in P20 at the moment, so he's lost a few places from where he was earlier, but he's still running in an okay position, still on course for some good points. I mean, he's well away from the back, nowhere near the back of the pack at the moment, so he's doing a good job here so far. But currently Epiphany's on the back of Andrew as he's looking to the inside here into turn 2, and this door's going to be wide open here. In fact, actually he's looking to go around the outside here, is Epiphany. Can he get the grip on the outside to do so? Andrew gives him the space there as they come around turn 3, and Andrew still holds on by the skin of his teeth there for 9th place for the time being. But a good battle here between these two. Looking on the timing board, looking to see if there's any more exciting close battles going on right now. Capriga and Meridois look quite close. You've got Kessim there, who's not far off of them at all either. Carl Marley's trying to gain places. He's made his way through ahead of Snoopy now, so Carl Marley up into P16 has picked off one driver since his spin a couple of laps ago, which dropped him down from 7th to 17th place. He's now in 16th, as we've said. Kessim's still on the back of Meridois at this point. Epiphany's still attacking on the back of Andrew. But battles currently all over the place at the moment. Totally Zero still just ahead of Ludo as they're coming down the hill into the final sector here on lap 8 of the race. Tynus is still running in 2nd place and still keeping G-Sanks behind him. And my theory earlier on, I was saying before, I think Jazzman might have full tanked it potentially. Tynus and G-Sanks have gone for a full tank strategy. I mean, we've got to think along those lines, haven't we? We've got to go with that narrative if we're going to keep this race exciting and unpredictable. So we've got to stick with that idea for the time being. But yeah, I mean, it's been a fantastic drive from Tynus and G-Sanks. They're a good little battle, and they're well clear of TJ Carlo, who I'm pretty sure is on a full tank strategy. But yeah, these guys currently killing it at the moment in 2nd and 3rd places. Robbie a long way behind TJ Carlo as well, still got Totally Zero behind him, with Ludo who's just behind him as well. Totally Zero's actually made his way ahead of Ludo up into P6, so I didn't see where he's done that, but Totally Zero has gained a position. High grades on the back of these guys as well, they can see not too far away at all. As Epiphany here trying to squeeze through ahead of Andrew again, and he's going to get it done this time, I think, although Andrew's going to have the momentum around the outside up the hill, and he just about keeps it within track limits there, rattling over that curb, almost losing control of the car. And somehow Andrew has managed to keep ahead of Epiphany here. I don't know how he's managing to do this. Epiphany looking to the inside into turn 5. Can't make that one happen. He's too far back, and that's a fast corner as well. It's a medium speed corner, and an overtaking move up the inside there is a ballsy one into the chicane. There's a bit more of an opportunity there, but he's too far back, and for the time being it's still Andrew running in 9th place here in this race, as Totally Zero has still got Ludo on the back of him in that battle for 6th and 7th places. Tynus has still got G-Sanks hassling him at the moment as they're coming through towards the end of lap 9. Jazzman still doing what he does best out the front, but my theory potentially he could be on a half tank strategy. He'll probably need to change tyres if he is on that strategy, and obviously the track temperature quite high, 38 degrees, so there's going to be plenty of deg and plenty of opportunities for guys who are changing their tyres and running a half tank. Kessim into the pits, the first driver to make his mandatory pit stop here at the end of lap 9, and obviously that's going to be a strange time to come into the pits. I don't think it's going to be a scheduled one, although maybe he's full tanking it. I mean, you've got to be full tanking it if you come in at this point, because there's absolutely no benefit. Well, I suppose there is benefit to changing tyres, but not as much as it would be if you came in at a halfway point. So could be a scheduled stop, could be an impromptu stop for damage, or a damage limitation sort of pit stop potentially for him, as we have lost a driver actually from this race. So I'm just going to try and work out who it is. because we are down to 26 drivers. We did have 27 not too long ago, so I'm just going to rewind and try and fill you guys in on what exactly has happened there, because we do seem to have unmistakably lost somebody from this race. We're going to stick around for Tinus and G-Sanks for the time being, as these two continue to battle it out over second and third places, whilst I just hunt back on the rewind to try and work out who we've lost here from this race. So it's, I think it's Kevsim we might have. No, Kevsim's still here, sorry. Lolfi Veldon's here. Hard to tell at the moment, to be honest with you. Yeah, can't quite tell at the minute because I actually rewound a bit too far a little while ago. But they're currently still watching a battle here between Tinus and G-Sanks as they fight it out over second and third places, trying to get news on the retirement that we've had from the race whilst we watch this battle commence. Here we go. Right, this might give us some idea. So we've got Tunde, we've got Day. Guido Christ. It's Guido Christ that we've lost from the race, unfortunately. Has retired the car. I just noticed there we did have him at the start. He has now retired, so what a shame there, obviously, for him, as he's usually up there or thereabouts, challenging for podiums and not too far away from the front, but clearly not his night tonight. The Hungaroring is not the easiest of circuits to overtake, so maybe got himself into a bit of a defeatist mindset being so far back. There's Tinus and G-Sanks still battling it out right now over second and third places. Totally Zero still running just ahead of Ludo. Ludo, they're putting him under tremendous pressure, and these two battling has allowed High Grade to gain time on them, and he's now making this a three-way fight here as Ludo lagging going out of the chicane there. Big bit of lag there for him. Not ideal at all. Is that going to be putting the drivers around him off? Is it going to be potentially distracting his own race as well? I'm not sure, but Ericode there running in P11 is 3 seconds ahead of Mary Louise. Fierce Mars there is actually falling off the back of Mary Louise a little bit here, so I don't know if he's got damage or maybe just lacking a bit of confidence here. Carl Marley seems to have fallen off of these guys as well, so he must have made a mistake here because Carl Marley's fallen well off of these. So I don't know if Mary Louise, Fierce Mars and Carl Marley might have come together in some kind of incident here, because they were quite close together. You can see the timing board, the Delta says that they were within a few tenths of a second of each other, all three of them. That's certainly not the case now, and Carl Marley's actually now behind Snoopy and Raki. So he's had a bit of a mare there. Epiphany's still on the back of Andrew. These two have been battling out now for a considerable number of laps, but Epiphany still can't find his way through. Andrew's been standing up to any potential advances that Epiphany's been throwing at him. Here we come, down the start finish straight once again. Here comes Epiphany to the inside. Surely this is going to be job done here. He needs to go late on the brakes here. Andrew very late on the brakes there. Has he missed his braking point? He goes a little bit wide, but he keeps the momentum as they come out of turn 1. Down towards turn 2 we go. Epiphany is just behind him, but Andrew's got the inside as well on the inside, and he's ahead. Here we come into turn 2, and Andrew once again holds on to that position. I don't know how he's managing to do this. He seems to have the confidence on the brakes. Epiphany just lacks that killer instinct there on the inside when they came into the braking zone, and for the time being Andrew is still in 9th place. Great driving there from Andrew. Robe's still ahead of Tony Zero, Ludo and High Grade at this point. This is a 4-way battle right now for P5, and it continues to develop here, but Robe, as I said earlier on, he's just been weathering the storm. These guys have been throwing everything at him that they possibly can, and he's just been standing there saying, nope, you're going to have to try a bit harder than that if you want to find a way through. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to do everything in my power to keep you guys at bay. Caprigio in the meantime still on the back of Snoopy at this point as they're going through the chicane. You can see Raki on the back of them as well. This is a trio battling over P14. Lol 3000 just ahead of Mario with Remster on the back of him as well. Oh, is Mario very deep there, very wide going out of turn 4, but Remster not close enough to capitalise. Mario wide again there through turn 5, but once again Remster's just not close enough to really capitalise on Mario's little mistake. He's looking up the inside though, but the door's still not opening there for him. So Rome's just going to have to continue to wait a little bit longer here. Epiphany is right on the back of Andrew here as they're coming out of the final corner. Look at this, they're bumper to bumper here. Over the line they come. Epiphany, can he make the move this time around? Obviously the Porsche not the quickest in a straight line. The Audi does have the legs on it, but the Porsche with the slipstream. But we know that Andrew's braver on the brakes than Epiphany is. Here we come into turn one once again. Epiphany this time fully sends it up the inside and gets it stopped beautifully there. Can he get the exit though? I think he has managed to do it this time around. Epiphany finally seems to have made the move stick. But is Andrew going to try and come back at him here into turn two? He's not going to be able to come back at him there. No chance. Not in hell is he going to make that one happen. Andrew goes deep into turn two as well. Epiphany has finally made the move there up into ninth place. Excellent driving from these two. They've been putting on a show for the last few laps, and Epiphany into ninth place, and that one was a long time coming, but he's finally made it happen here as Robe still continue to hold on for this battle for fifth place ahead of Totally Zero, Ludo and Highgrade. This is a four-way fight here, and I get the feeling that Robe may be slightly holding these guys up because they're all gathering up behind him, but they just can't find a way through. It's such a difficult track to overtake, the Hungaroring, notoriously difficult. Obviously those of you who watch F1 will know just how difficult it is to overtake, and in fact anybody who watches the Hungaroring in any discipline or is a motorsport fan in general will know that it's incredibly difficult to overtake around this circuit, and qualifying really is quite key to your success. As we watch here the battle between Tynus and G-Sank still continuing to go on here, just under a second separating the top two. You've got Robe still just ahead of Totally Zero with Ludo Highgrade. There's Ludo into the pits here at the end of lap 13. So pulling the trigger this time around. Now what's he going to do in his pit stop? Is it going to be, I would imagine it's probably a little bit early to be coming in for a half tank tyre change, because you're not going to get the full benefit. Obviously we're still a little way away from the halfway mark in the race. What is Ludo going to do here? If he's stopped in the box more than 10 seconds, you can be safely assured that he's probably changing tyres and putting fuel in the car as well. But let's see what Ludo does here. Here he is, stopped in the box now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So he's definitely doing more than just a stop go. Appears to me he's doing something to the car, whether it's tyres, whether it's fuel. We're not quite sure at the moment. As Caprigi has just been into the pits. Mario emerging from the pit lane, having done his pit stop. Ludo's still in the box at the moment, so I would say he's almost definitely doing tyres and fuel. This is more than 20 seconds now in the box, which is you can safely assume at this point that he's done the full works here. He's now off the Jackson away. That was a good 30 odd seconds there for Ludo, so the full works being done, and away he goes. So quite early for a tyre change. Obviously we're well away from the halfway mark, but his tyres 14 lap fresher than everybody else's at this moment in time. And obviously for those who don't end up changing tyres in this race, he will have 14 lap fresher tyres, and then all of those guys from here until the end of the race. So that will keep him in good stead as we see the battle between Tynus and G-Sanks continuing to rage on here into turn one, but G-Sanks still can't find a way through on Tynus at this point. Robo's still got Totally Zero and Highgrade on the back of him there. You can see there's 2 seconds separating this trio. Highgrade's just dropped off of these guys a little bit over the course of that lap. Although saying that, he just took half a second out of Totally Zero through that final sector. So the Mercedes seems to be pretty well hooked up there through that final part of the lap. Or maybe did these two have a collision or a bit of a knock into each other? I'm not sure. Maybe Highgrade was just very confident through that part of the track. Or whatever the case, he's currently bringing himself back into this fight, but Rowe's just been weathering this pressure. He's not been phased at all by the cars in his mirrors. He's just been standing up, standing tall to all of the to everything that anybody's had to throw at him over the course of this race so far. Raki in the meantime is closing up onto the back of Snoopy in this battle for 11th and 12th places. Still 26 cars out on track here at the Hungaroring for round 3 of the GT3 Championship here at Motive on the PlayStation 5 platform. Big welcome to everybody tuning in live here on YouTube tonight. 12 of you currently still watching at this point. And yeah, currently the story of this race, Jazzman got it on pole position and has been leading in his new choice of car for tonight. Obviously has had to reset his entire points tally for this season so far because he's changed his car after 2 rounds. He was sat on 59 points, he's now sat on nil points. Compared to his old rival Tynus, who is on 120 points, having taken the double through the first 2 rounds of this season. And obviously riding in the Honda, which is not as good of a car. I think Jazzman might have the edge over Tynus for the duration of this season, the rest of this season, but when you factor in that he's 120 points behind him, I don't think that any amount of car advantage is going to help Jazzman overhaul that sort of deficit. But it'd be interesting to see where he can get to actually in this season standings, because obviously essentially losing 2 rounds, you're losing 25% of the season. So where can he get to in the points, having only completed 75% of the season? That will be fascinating to see. And obviously leading the race at the moment by nearly 10 seconds. But as I said before, I've theorised a few times so far, I reckon that Jazzman may be half tanking it and planning on doing a tyre change when he comes into the pits. And if that is the case, then that will explain his pace advantage over these two in this first stint, and that will obviously bring these guys back into play somewhat for the second half of this race. But then again, at these sort of temperatures, a tyre change will benefit you massively. It costs you about an extra 25 seconds in the pit lane, but if he can make up that time in the final part of the race, then it's all good for him. As Fierce miles into the pits here at the end of what is lap 15 of this race for him, and he'll be continuing on his way pretty shortly, you would imagine, as Railway's still ahead of Totally Zero and High Grade at this point. These guys coming through into the chicane here in the middle sector on lap 16 of this race. Jazzman's still going around. He's coming into the final few corners and he's staying out for the time being, so no signs of Jazzman pulling the trigger just yet. As said, obviously this would be about the time for his pit window if he was on a half tank tyre change strategy. Maybe the next lap, maybe the one after that potentially. But then once we go beyond, I'd say if we go beyond lap 18 and Jazzman still hasn't been in, then I would say it's likely that he probably is doing a full tank strategy, which would be an ominous sign for guys like Tynus and G-Sanks, who have not been on his level at all. They have not had any answer to the pace of Jazzman over the course of the first stint here. So I'm sure those guys will be hoping and praying that Jazzman is on a half tank strategy. But here's the battle still battling over 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th places. Robo, Totally Zero, High Grade and Epiphany. As in fact no, Epiphany's not with them, sorry, I do apologise. It was actually Ludo who was with them before. Ludo's been into the pits, so that's obviously taking him out of that battle for the time being. Epiphany's nowhere near them. He's actually running an 8th place in no man's land at the moment. He's 15 seconds behind that trio, but he's well clear of Error Code, who's running in 9th place, as he's coming over the line here to complete lap 16 of the race. Gracky's still in the back of Carl Marley here as they're coming through into the final corner. Can Racky get a run here on Ferrari? Looks like he's too far away at the moment to really get the benefit of some strong slipstream. He'll have to continue to wait a little bit longer here, but sitting on the fringes of a top 10 spot for the time being. Where's that going to be once all the pit stops are said and done? Is he still going to be in contention for a top 10 once we factor all those things in? That'll be interesting to see. What strategy is he on as well? Is he on a full tank? Is he on a half tank? These questions and more will be answered by the time we get to the checkered flag here tonight. We've got 24 drivers now left in the race, so we've had a couple of retirements, unfortunately, which is a shame, because that's not really what you want to see. You want to see everybody that can make it to the flag getting it to the flag. But we've lost 3 drivers from this race at the halfway point here at the Hungaroring for tonight's race, round 3 of the GT3 Championship for Season 5 here on the PlayStation 5 at Motive Racing. We can see Jazzman coming into Turn 1. He's gapped nearly 10 seconds over these two, Tynus and G-Sanks, as they're coming into Turn 1 now. G-Sanks with a bit of a run, but just still a little bit too far back here on Tynus for the time being. Jazzman, though, crucially, is continuing on, so he's not pitting at this point. Is he throwing a little bit of a dummy here at these guys? Is he trying to make them think that he's on a full tank? Is he trying to confuse us, or is he genuinely on a full tank strategy? That could be a very ominous sign with the pace that he's had in the first part of this race. TJ Carlo in the meantime is into the pits at the end of lap 17, so he's I think probably on a half tank strategy by the looks of it, because it'd be unusual for him to come in at this point in the race if he wasn't. Epiphany also in, so I think potentially that could be a half tank strategy as well for him. Seems like everybody else is staying out for the time being. All the rest of the top 12 drivers are staying out on track, so just TJ Carlo and Epiphany by the looks of it, who are doing a half tank strategy, at least for the time being anyway. As Jazzman's coming towards the end of lap 18 already, and he's lapped a couple of drivers there. You can see a BMW in the background, which is Chris, and he's got a McLaren on the back of him. Yeah, Tunde currently on the back of him. He's a lap down actually on Chris, so Chris is a lap down. Chris is 2 laps down and Tunde is 4 laps down. But both of these two currently battling albeit they're not battling for track position because they are 2 laps apart. Epiphany's still in the box at the moment. Ramster seems to be coming into the pits now at the end of lap 17 for him. Jazzman finishing lap 18 here in this race. He's still bossing things out the front by over 10 seconds, and he's continuing on way past the halfway point. So I think the Jazzman has full tanked it. I think that his pace is genuine here tonight. He seems to be on another level from Tynus and G-Sanks, at least so far. What have these two got to offer? Have they got a pickup? Have they got a bit of a pickup and have they got any get up and go? That's the question in the final part of this race. As Totally Zero still keeping High Grade at bay, but High Grade's got a bit of a run here coming down towards turn 1. He's looking to the inside there, but just too far away at the moment. Totally Zero is going to comfortably hold on that one into the braking zone there, but Roby's still keeping him at bay for the time being as well. G-Sanks just dropping off with Tynus a little bit, although saying that seems to have closed it up a bit again. The gap was almost a second. It's now seems to be considerably less than that by the looks of it. Just by looking at the battle, we can see it looks like about 5 or 6 tenths rather than 9 tenths that it shows up on the timing screen, and now it's less than that because Tynus didn't get a great run through that sequence either. We've got traffic here in front of them, the dirty air from the cars in front is going to start to affect Tynus' grip. Is that going to also play into his head a little bit, with G-Sanks getting closer and closer to the back of him here as these guys coming through into the final sector? You've got the Ukraine livery just ahead, and that is the Porsche of Epiphany, who's still trying to attack on the back of these 2 lapped cars in the shape of Chris and Tunde. Tunde unlaps himself on Chris, and Epiphany still can't find a way through, so he's trying to lap these 2, and he's also got the 2nd and 3rd place drivers trying to lap him. Oh, is this contact there? Oh dear. Oh, it's getting a bit sketchy here as Tynus makes his way through, and G-Sanks does as well. They both make their way through ahead of the back markers there, but there seems to be contact there between Epiphany and Chris as Tynus defends the inside from G-Sanks into turn 1 and just about stays ahead here. But you can see on the inside there is the McLaren of Tunde who's letting them through. So Tunde there making way for the leaders, and he's also let Epiphany through as well. So Epiphany putting a lap there on Tunde, and now he can resume his battle there with Chris that they've been having now for a number of laps, which is good to see. But Tynus and G-Sanks getting through, thankfully unscathed there, but that was very close to tears. That could have easily ended in disaster there for those guys. Thank God that it all worked out okay. And Tynus and G-Sanks still allowed to battle over this 2nd and 3rd places, as they're now well behind the race of the Jazzman, who's got an 11-second lead. And the more they battle, the more it's going to play into Jazzman's hands. The bigger lead he'll have. Out the front, oh, as G-Sanks is looking at the inside here of Tynus. Can he get the run on the outside? He's done that one beautifully there as G-Sanks. What a great manoeuvre there that was. He got the confidence in the car round the outside, off of the racing line. G-Sanks there up into 2nd place. Tynus in the house. Couldn't do anything about it, and G-Sanks has put one over his nemesis. I say nemesis because G-Sanks has been absolutely sick to death, I'm sure, of seeing Tynus in the house taking win after win after win after win after win last season in the GT3 Sprint League here at Motive on a Wednesday night, and he's finally managed to get one over here on the man who's put him through so much pain over the last few seasons here at Motive. G-Sanks there up into 2nd place. That was an absolute peach of a manoeuvre there around the outside, as Tynus there gets a little bit wrong there coming out of the final corner, but G-Sanks into 2nd place. Jazzman though on lap 21 still continuing on his way. I think this proves beyond any reasonable doubt, I would say, that Jazzman is on a full tank strategy. He's not changing tyres, and he will be in and out of the pit box just like G-Sanks and Tynus, so there'll be no advantage gained for G-Sanks and Tynus to try and get back on Jazzman in the final part of this race. That pace that we see from Jazzman is representative, and that is just that's a warning, isn't it? Really, that's an ominous warning to everybody else out on track that he means business here for the rest of this season, driving in his new steed. Obviously the Ferrari being his car of choice. Traditionally he always went for the Bentley, has opted for the BMW I think as well at points, and this season decided he wanted to go for the Honda. It hasn't really worked out for him. He absolutely hates it. Tynus in the house is stuck with it. I think more due to fate than choice, because obviously he won the first 2 races. I don't think he enjoys it. I think obviously he's I mean, you can see now, because Jazzman has got so much more pace in him. They're usually very evenly matched, but Jazzman head and shoulders above Tynus at the moment. It just goes to show, you know, Tynus has won the first 2 races, but I think that Jazzman in the Ferrari has got a considerable advantage over him. It's going to be a difficult season, I think, for Tynus for the rest of this season. He's got that points lead, obviously, and that will serve as some motivation, I think. But ultimately, it's going to be a frustrating season for him, seeing Jazzman in that Ferrari, which is clearly a faster car, and clearly enjoying it a lot more than the Honda. And it's the reason why Jazzman decided he didn't want to go with the Honda in the end, or rather, he didn't want it to stick with it because it was just causing him all sorts of problems, really. Tynus, though, his championship position has kind of forced his hand, really. It'd be a fool to drop his points when he's leading the standings, and currently on course, as things stand, so far this season anyway, looking on course to defend his title and take his second GT3 championship here on a Sunday night at Motive on the PlayStation 5. Jazzman obviously is a 4-time champion of the GT3 championship here at Motive. He's also a 1-time champion of the Sprint League as well. Tynus has won the Sprint League last season, so these guys, you know, they know what it takes, but Tynus has got a long way to go until he matches Jazzman's championship tally of 4 here for the GT3 championship. Well, obviously they're tied on 1 apiece for the Sprint League, and but yeah, Tynus the overwhelming favourite, I think, to make it back-to-back titles this season with his points lead that he's got. But he's currently running in 3rd place, with G-Sanks pulling off a wonderful manoeuvre on him this time a couple of laps ago. As Robe still keeping Totally Zero at bay, higher into the pits, and so is LOL 3000. So those two pulling the trigger here quite late on, well past the halfway mark here. See LOL 3000 there exiting the pits into turn 1 once again. Tynus still sticking to the back of G-Sanks. Obviously G-Sanks made the move in him a couple of laps ago, but Tynus isn't giving up. As in the background, Epiphany there making a move to the inside of Carl Marley into turn 1, but too far back. Can't quite make it happen. With a bit of damage there on the left side of that car, you can see the bottom part of the side of the car is taking a bit of a knock. I don't know if that's maybe damage from a curb, maybe, or whether it's contact with another car. It doesn't look like it's contact with the wall. So I think it'd be a bit more serious than that if it was with the wall, unless it was a little scrape against the wall, maybe. But Epiphany nonetheless still keeping the pressure on Carl Marley at this point, as these guys have just been lapped by G-Sanks and Tynus. But obviously they've been into the pits to make their pit stops. These guys haven't, so they won't have been lapped by them by the time we get to the end of this race. But as things stand, they are just over a lap down on those two for the time being. Totally Zero still hassling the back of Robe, but still can't find a way through in that battle for P4. We're down to 22 drivers here in this race. Such a shame to see us lose so many. We started off with 27 cars out on the track, so it's a bummer to see so few out on track still. I'm going to say so few, I mean obviously 22, you know, it's still good load, but yeah, not ideal. Obviously an ideal scenario would be to have 29 cars start and 29 finish, but that might be asking them a little bit much, I fear. As Snoopy there into the pits at the end of lap 23, making his mandatory pit stop here. Jazzman continuing on his way. In fact, no, lap 22 for him, sure, should I say. But G-Sanks seems to be pulling away from Tynus here in this battle for P2, so he seems to be quite comfortable. He's got the measure over Tynus in the house at the moment, where he's still keeping Totally Zero at bay just about. I'd say these two quite evenly matched for pace at the moment, because even though Totally Zero has been close to him and has been putting pressure on him, at points Robe's able to pull that gap, so I feel like it's maybe not all one-way traffic. I feel like Totally Zero is still keeping him on his toes, but I don't think that Robe's under tremendous pressure. I don't think he's clinging on for dear life, let's say. I think he's definitely standing up to Totally Zero at this point. Carl Marley has got a drive-through penalty just as we flicked to him there for cutting the chicane. We saw that one, and unfortunately he's done it a few too many times. Obviously you get 3 warnings on ACC. The first warning, then you get second warning, and once you get the third one, it's like that's your last chance. If you do it again, you're getting a drive-through penalty, and Carl Marley has pushed his luck just a little bit too much, and he's going to have to come in at some point in the next 3 laps. It doesn't have to be this lap, but it's going to have to be either the one after that or the one after that. What a shame there for Carl Marley. Is he going to come in and get it done and out of the way, or is he going to try and long it out and try and gain as much time as he can before he pulls that trigger? Where are the other guys? You can see Erico there running in P12. How far behind him is he? That's going to be a good question. Somebody lost it there in the background behind him, or is that that was the BMW there of Chris, who's moving aside there for the leaders. So Totally Zero there making his way through, but Carl Marley there going into turn 1. He's still just ahead of Epiphany, so actually made the move on Epiphany. Error Code is running in P12, so Carl Marley's aim now has got to be to try and stay ahead of Error Code, keep on to P11. Could still be on for a top 10 spot with Raki still yet to pit, so is Totally Zero. But saying that, I think Totally Zero should be able to come out ahead of him. But Carl Marley definitely still in the shake-up for a top 10 spot with Raki running in P6. That could be quite a close one by the time we get to the end of the race. We'll have to keep our eyes on that one, because that could be interesting. Very interesting indeed. But Totally Zero there in the pits at the end of lap 24. Jazzman still going around as he's coming into the final sector of the lap. He's got a couple of cars in front of him there. You can see Scuderia Paul and Fierce Mars. Jazzman there around the outside. Moves himself into clean air here. And can now attack on the back of this next car, which is number 78 there of Fierce Mars. Surprised it's not the Kevsim, because Kevsim is Kevsim 78. Surprised he's not running the 78 car. Fierce Mars I think changes his number every week, but Jazzman there still behind Fierce Mars at this point, obviously. G Sanks and Tynus there coming over the line to complete their 25th laps of the race there. Still running in second and third places. It's been like this for a few laps now. Carl Marley's still carrying on, so he's going to leave it until the very last opportunity to come into the pits. He's now pulling away from Epiphany a little bit there. But Carl Marley's target's got to be to come out ahead of Error Code and challenge for a top 10 once we see the others come into the pits. Raki will be bringing it in, and that could present him with an opportunity here to take a P10 in this race. 22 drivers still left in the session here as we're into the closing stages, really. Final quarter of this round 3 for the GT3 Championship here in Motive on the PlayStation 5 here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, as we see Rebe into the pits here at the end of lap 25. Kind of still right on the back of G-Sanks here. G-Sanks has just gapped Tynus by over a second, just over a second. It's not much. It's not like he's powering away from him. Raki into the pits here at the end of lap 25. So that's going to be the interesting one now. He's now off the jacks and should be away in a second. As there he goes. Now where's he going to come out in relation to these guys? Carl Marley's coming in for a drive-through penalty. And Raki's going to come out. I think Raki's already been in his box, has he? Or has he? I'm not sure. Maybe he hasn't. He has, yeah, he has been in his box. So Raki's come out and he's well ahead of Carl Marley. So Carl Marley's chances of a top 10 spot, I think, have gone begging here. Erico coming into the final few corners. He's currently running in P12. So Carl Marley will come out in P11. He's well ahead of Erico. He's got, I think, or maybe not, because Erico's coming out of the final corner now. Carmali's just coming off the limiter, so Carmali's got a reasonable cushion here over Erico. About 5 seconds, I reckon. 5 or 6 seconds between those two. There's Carmali into turn 1. There's Erico just coming into turn 1 now. So about 7 or 8 seconds between those two. Carmali looking good for 11th place, but I think he's lost out on the opportunity to take a top 10 here tonight at the Hungaroring. Obviously that drive-through penalty costing him the opportunity to finish in the top 10, which is going to be a frustrating situation there for him. I'm absolutely certain about that. In the meantime, Jazzman coming into the final part of this lap. He's currently on lap 27 of the race. He's got a few drivers in front of him, some traffic to negotiate here as he's going to make his way through with a minimal fuss there for Jazzman. And over the line he comes here to start lap 27. Trying to still all over the back of G-Sanks here as they're coming down towards turn 2. Keeping an eye on that timing board, keeping track of everything that's going on. Ludo's just over a second behind High Grade at this point. Tynus in the house, creeping close to the back of G-Sanks as they come up the hill. What is Tynus going to be able to do here? Obviously these guys, they haven't quite been on the pace of Jazzman over the course of tonight. It's been a frustrating night, I think, for both of these guys, especially Tynus, because we know that he's capable of challenging Jazzman, but being in that Honda, I think it's really holding him back. Jazzman switched to the Ferrari for tonight, and obviously he was racing in the Honda for the first part of the season, but it wasn't working for him at all. Tynus somehow has managed 2 wins so far this season in that car, but with his big rival in the Ferrari, I think he's going to struggle to get any more wins this season. But with Jazzman resetting his points due to a car change, it means that Tynus does have a 120 point gap over him, so unless something goes absolutely monumentally wrong, shouldn't be able to catch him despite being in a much quicker car here for the rest of the season. G-Sanks and Tynus coming out of the final corner here, 0.3 of a second apart, but still too far away is Tynus in the house to really challenge, I think, on G-Sanks. He's just too far back. He's just out of send-it range here as they come into turn 1. He might have a look, he might try and put him under some pressure. G-Sanks actually defending slightly there coming into turn 1. Didn't really need Tynus to throw any feints to the inside. Didn't really require Tynus to put him under any real pressure. He just kind of went to defend the position naturally, I think, there, seeing that Tynus was getting a little bit closer. Ludo's still on the back of High Grade here in this fight for 7th and 8th place. It's looking further down the order, there's not too really much going on at the moment. G-Sanks and Tynus here coming up the hill towards turn 4 again. Tynus is closer this time around as they come onto the brakes now, but still G-Sanks holding on to that one. Tynus in the house was almost underneath him there, had a little look, but just too far back, and is still going to have to wait for his opportunity here as they're coming out of turn 5 down towards the chicane. Again, you're not really going to make the move there. It's hard to get a run coming out of turn 5. Really difficult to set yourself up for a run into the chicane. It's not really an overtaking spot, even though naturally you would think that the chicane should be an overtaking spot. Unless the driver in front of you makes a mistake coming through turn 5, you're very unlikely to find yourself in a position to send one down the inside. And around the outside, I think you've got more chance of going around the outside of Eau Rouge than you have at making a move around the outside of the Hungaroring chicane. Because the marbles on the outside there, you just end up going straight on over the sausage curb. And if you cut that chicane more than 3 times, you get a penalty. If you cut the chicane also, you run the risk of clipping that sausage curve and getting pinged into orbit. So it's not really worth risking it, if I'm honest with you. I think you're better off just tucking in and waiting for an opportunity down the start-finish straight, which Tynus in the house seems to be doing. Here we come out of the final corner. Again, too far back here down the start-finish straight. A gap just a little bit more than what Tynus needs it to be to risk sending one down the inside into turn 1. Is he going to throw a little feint to the inside this time? No. G-Sanks Not really. I mean, he is still defending a little bit coming into the braking zone. You can see he's turning in a little bit earlier than he usually would. Obviously, you usually stay to the outside until you're sort of coming up towards the apex, and then you turn in for a late apex. The best way to take turn one, I think that's usually G Sanks's line, but obviously with Tynus behind him, he's taking an early apex. He's drifting in towards the corner very early. As soon as he hits the brakes, he's drifting into the corner. Unlike if you were taking your normal natural racing line, which is the quickest line, you'd brake, straighten the car a little bit, and then take a late apex. But he's not doing that. He's drifting into the corner as soon as he hits those brakes, and that is because he's fully aware that that Honda behind him will be looking to try and capitalise on any chinks in the armour that G Sanks might be able to leave on the table. But for the time being, he's standing firm and holding on to this P2, which he got actually on the track with an on-track manoeuvre a few laps ago. It was just past the halfway point, I think, just after they'd been to the, just after they had, just after the halfway point it was, when G Sanks managed to get a bit of a fortuitous run. Oh, there's contact there between High Grade and Ludo. Big contact there, rubbing doors between them. And High Grade there squeezing back through, so holding on to that P7 for the time being, as Ludo was trying to get around him there but couldn't do it. G Sanks and Tynus coming into the final sector here of this lap, but High Grade there still holding on for that 7th place for the time being as they're coming down the start finish straight. High Grade and Ludo. What's going to happen here with G Sanks and Tynus? Looks like it's still just a little bit too much, that gap between these two, and G Sanks I think should be safe for at least another lap here. But we have got 5 laps left to go here at the Hungaroring for tonight's action here at Motive for round 3 of season 5 here for the GT3 Championship on the PlayStation 5. Jazzman's gap over G Sanks and Tynus is 16 seconds, and that's only being exaggerated by the fact that these two are battling as well, which is helping Jazzman to just disappear off into the distance. But obviously a 16-second gap over the course of 30 laps. He's averaging just over half a second a lap quicker than these two, which is quite unbelievable when you consider the talent that Tynus has got and also the G Sanks has got. But you can see the improvement that G Sanks has made, because he's battling out with Tynus, a driver who dominated him last season in the Sprint League. I think G Sanks managed to beat him twice in 16 races, but so far tonight he's really stepped up to the plate and is currently holding on for P2 there as he gets onto the grass a little bit there going out of the chicane, but still keeping on to this one for the time being. Robe still running in 4th place ahead of TJ Carlo as they're coming out of the final corner. These two almost bumper to bumper, but Robe has been defending. He spent his entire race defending, to be fair. He was defending from Totally Zero earlier. Totally Zero has dropped out of it with the pit stop strategy not really going his way, but TJ Carlo looking to throw the kitchen sink here at Robe. Robe currently doing a great job of keeping him behind him. These guys 16 seconds clear of Totally Zero, who's got a couple of seconds, 4 seconds back to High Grade and Ludo, who still continues to battle it out over 7th and 8th places here as they're coming down towards turn 1. Ludo too far back there into turn 1. No, he's not too far back. He's going to send it up the inside. Surely he's going to go deep. He is going to go deep, and look at that. High Grade there says, alright mate, you can go late on the brakes, you can get me all you like. I'm going to just get the undercut and take you straight back. It's easy pickings there for me, sunshine. Don't you worry about that. Tynus in the house in the meantime. Into the pits here at the end of lap 31. Can he get the undercut maybe here on G Sanks? This has got to be his best opportunity here of taking P2 back in this race. If he can get into the box quickly, in that box, in and out, then he'll have a good chance of making it work here, as Robe still keeping TJ Carlo at bay. TJ Carlo looking to try and use every bit of the track he possibly can here to get as close to Robe as he can, to try and get everyone try and get the slipstream. Oh, bit of a slide there from TJ Carlo, massive slide in fact, getting onto the curve very exuberantly there as to come into the final sector of the lap. Into the 3rd to last corner we go. Don't want to get too wide onto those marbles, you really do lose a load of grip and it causes the tyres all sorts of problems. But Robe for the time being is still holding on to this one really resolutely, as TJ Carlo looking to the outside here of Robe into the final corner. Robe though is still clinging on as they come out onto the start finish straight once again here. TJ Carlo tucks into the slipstream. Robe defending the inside line As here we go, TJ Carlo looking to the inside, now to the outside. Can he get around him here? Robe's defending it. He's parking his car on the inside. TJ Carlo trying to go round the long way here. Can he do it with the better grip and obviously the faster tyres? Robe's still managing to make it work and parking his car in all the right places here. Down towards turn 2. Robe's got that one covered off for now. TJ Carlo can't quite make it happen. He's still having to wait. He's having to be a patient man tonight, is TJ Carlo, but his patience may not be rewarded because there's only 3 laps left in this race. Time is running out here for TJ Carlo to make this happen. Robe is doing everything he needs to do at the moment. As G Sanks into the pits here. So obviously we saw Tynus coming in a lap earlier to try and get the undercut. Now has that worked, or has G Sanks managed to cover him off over the course of this pit window? Tynus there going through the second to last corner. Coming into the final corner now. G Sanks just about to stop in his box. I think Tynus is going to have him here comfortably. Tynus is going to jump him here, surely. G-Sanks into the box. He's going to pull out of his box in a second. There's Tynus. And G-Sanks should be getting going in a second. There he goes. He's now off the jacks. Tynus, though, is off and away. So Tynus there with a much better pit stop there than G-Sanks. Going through turn 1. G-Sanks with damage on the front of the car. Must have made a mistake there on his in-lap. Knew that he had to get the hammer down to stay ahead of Tynus in the house. He knew that Tynus was going for the undercut. And unfortunately for him, has binned it into the wall, got big damage on the front of the car, and he's come out way behind Tynus. So Tynus has managed to nab second place here. The championship leader would extend his championship gap in this season's standings, which is great for him. But unfortunate there for G Sanks with that battered up Ferrari there that he's got underneath him. And I said earlier on, I was saying earlier on that Tynus in the house has got to be the favourite for this season's championship, but that's obviously disregarding the fact that it's not massively far ahead in the championship. Obviously Robe sits in second in the championship. He's currently in 4th tonight, so the gap in the championship is not going to be unassailable by any means, but he needs some very consistent performances, and he needs Tynus really to step up if he's to have a very strong chance this season. Jazzman in the meantime is coming into the pits here at the end of lap 34, as he's just starting lap 34 now. Tynus in the house is coming into the final few corners, and Jazzman is now off. He's now off and away. So it's going to be a 34 lap race here tonight at the Hungaroring. Jazzman comes out of the pits and in towards turn 1, and his gap over Tynus is comfortable, more than comfortable. He's had scorching pace tonight. Has our 4-time champion of this GT3 championship, also the 1-time champion of the Sprint League. Has won 5 titles here at Motive across the PS4 and the PS5, and looking on course to bring it home for another race win here tonight. But obviously this season the championship looking a bit beyond him here, because he has changed his car for this 3rd round of the season, which means he resets his championship points. He loses the 59 points he had accumulated before tonight and resets to 0, which means he's 120 points behind this man here, who is the championship leader, Tynus in the house. But nonetheless, he'll be happy with tonight's performance. A much better performance here from Jazzman in the Ferrari compared to what we've seen from him in the Honda so far this season. He's been really struggling to get to grips with the Honda. We've seen Jazzman out of sorts in quite a few of the races, but it's great to see him back to his brilliant best here tonight in Hungary. He's coming up on some traffic. I don't know if he'll get to it before we get to the checkered flag though, but it's great to see Jazzman back on form. This man here has been in superb form over the last few seasons, but this season has not been his so far. But here tonight he's going to put the wrongs partially right. He's got a long way to go if he's going to make up for the disasters of this season so far, but he's definitely on the right tracks. He's getting off on the right foot now. Here he comes, Jazzman, into the final corner here at the Hungaroring for round 3 of season 5 here for the PlayStation 5 GT3 Championship, and onto the start finish straight for the final time. He's going to see the checkered flag. The number 14 is going to win here tonight for round 3 of the season, and what a performance. A emphatic job there from Jazzman, as he is absolutely demolished Tynus in the house, who comes over to take 2nd place there in the Honda. He's a few seconds clear of G Sanks in the end, about 10 seconds ahead of him. So G Sanks there had a horror show of an in-lap there, got damage on the car, and also the damage has affected his pace in the final part of this one. G Sanks comes over though to complete the podium. A very creditable drive indeed there from him. Robe and TJ Carlo still battling. I think that Robe is going to hold TJ Carlo off by the looks of it. Carmali's finished the race a lap down in 11th. Error Code in 12th, also a lap down. Lowell 3000 and Scuderia Paul 2 laps down in 15th and 16th places. Robe is coming into the final corner. Snoopy's finished the race a lap down in 13th place. Robe's going to come through with TJ Carlo, his wingman here as they come over the line. 4th for Robe, 5th for TJ Carlo as a late standing reserve. A great performance from him tonight. Who's going to be next over the line? I think it's... Actually, I can't tell who it is at the moment. It's difficult to see at this point. Trying to work out who it is, but it's not very obvious at this point. Saw somebody coming up towards the line. Totally Zero's finished the race in 6th. High Grade classified in 7th in the end. Epiphany's coming into the final corner. He'll be 8th in a moment. Remster is just behind him on the track. Has Fierce Miles crossed the line? Not yet. Capriglia coming up towards the line. Epiphany over to take 8th place here tonight. Remster coming into the final corner. Capriglia comes over to take 19th place. Remster over to take 14th, 2 laps down. Ludo has finished the race in 9th. And he's actually the last driver over the line. So that is that then, guys, for tonight. So Jazzman with a fantastic performance there, taking the race victory in dominant fashion by nearly 13 seconds over Tyler House. G Sanks there completing the podium. But I want to say a big thank you to everybody for tuning in live here on YouTube tonight. If you did enjoy it, please do smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're one of the drivers watching this back, then please do share it with your friends, family members and otherwise associates. If you're interested in joining the leagues here at Motive, then be sure to go to www.motiveracing.com and sign yourself up for the leagues, because we've got plenty of spaces on a Wednesday night for our sprint league, and obviously for the GT3 Championship here on a Sunday. The plan is to have a qualifying system for any free spaces that we've got going in the league. So if anybody wants to jump in as a late stand-in, if there's spaces, then obviously we're going to figure out a way to accommodate that. But yeah, thanks everybody once again. We'll see you on Wednesday night for the Sprint League. Round 4 of the season will be at Suzuka for that one at 8 PM UK time. And then after that, we'll be back on next Sunday for round 4 of the GT3 Championship here on a Sunday night. Same time as always, it'll be 8:30 PM UK time. Hoping for a full grid, or as close to as possible, depending on the track, because not all the tracks allow 29 cars, some allow 28 or 27. But yeah, hopefully we should have as close to a full grid as humanly possible for next week. We will be live at Barcelona next week for an evening race as well. That'll be exciting. But yeah, can't wait for that, guys. See you soon. See you all soon. Have a great rest of the weekend. What's left of it, not much, admittedly. And yeah, we'll see you very soon. Take it easy. Good night.